Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Thousand Dragon Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for September 2021. I've been doing a lot of different Joey Wheeler deck profiles over the years, and I never actually got around to making a deck that focuses on one of his first boss monsters that he ever used before Red Eyes or any of the other cards Joey used. He summoned out the Thousand Dragon by aging his baby dragon with the Time Wizard provided to him by Yugi. So this deck focuses on summoning out the Thousand Dragon and just all the other different playstyles that Joey had to make use of cards like Time Wizard and Baby Dragon all together in one deck, with the main focus to obviously be summoning out the Thousand Dragon. It's a really fun deck, so definitely do give it a try if you're looking for something that's definitely a Joey Wheeler feel. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main deck monsters, we'll go ahead and start with the main deck before we get to the extra deck. We are running 3 Baby Dragon, one of the go-to cards needed for the Thousand Dragon, since Thousand Dragon is just a fusion monster that needs Time Wizard and Baby Dragon. It is a relatively weak dragon for the fact that it is a baby dragon, but still one of the needed materials, and being a normal monster, it can easily be summoned out with cards like Unexpected Die or Baby Dragon onto the field to use, whether it be for a fusion summon or a link summon. You have that option available to you with this card as a 3 of in the deck. One of the more powerful cards to use along with Baby Dragon for the Thousand Dragon is the Time Wizard. At least this card has an actual monster effect. Once per turn, you can toss a coin and call it. If you call it right, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. If you call it wrong, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. And if you do, take damage equal to the total attack of those monsters destroyed that they had on the field. So it's a risky card to take for sure. On the upper hand, if you call it right, you can destroy all of your opponent's monsters, but if you call it wrong, you'll destroy all of yours and then also take damage equal to the ones you destroyed. The main play, though, will be to summon out the Thousand Dragon with your Time Wizard and Baby Dragon, and the added option of having Time Wizard of Tomorrow in the deck as an added summon needing Time Wizard and 1 effect monster, which I'll show which monsters we can use in the deck, obviously, for those added options of summoning out this card. So very useful at 3, just to keep those numbers high for the fact that we need it for just opening up this card. We have other cards to search out this card, but relatively you want to, have access to it as easy as you can. So running 3 of it as the max number we can run the deck is the best way to do so. For some of the other cards in the deck, I also run 2 Alligator Sword. Now, for Baby Dragon, we are running Alligator Sword Dragon, needing a Baby Dragon and Alligator Sword to make it. And with one of the plays focusing mostly on normal monsters, this card will definitely come in handy for that play once I get to it at the end of the video. But also, being the Thousand Dragon deck, I feel it's necessary to run its newest form, which is 100 Dragon. I actually forget sometimes that this is an actual card for the deck. Once per turn, you can have this card gain levels equal to the number of cards you control. If you do, it gains 100 attack for each level gained. These changes last until the end of this turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster you control that was special summoned from the extra deck. The first time that face-up card be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. You can only use this effect of 100 Dragon once per turn. So the main play with this is to use it with the Time Wizard, or I keep calling it the Time Wizard. It is the Time. I thought that said the for a second. Time Wizard of Tomorrow, to protect this card on the field by your opponent's battle or card effects that would destroy it. So it's a great backup option. I would basically say it's the reverse summon of the Thousand Dragon, instead using the 100 Dragon and Time Wizard to summon out the Time Wizard of Tomorrow. So 3 copies of this card just gives you more consistency for having the effect monsters to use to summon out the Time Wizard of Tomorrow, and then just the added option of having a monster that can hit some pretty high attack power, the more for all the different levels it can gain equal to the number of cards you control. For more special summoning for cards like Alligator Sword and Baby Dragon, I run the 3 Rescue Rabbit. Once again, just a quick way to summon out Baby Dragons onto the field to make use of for any of our summons we wish to go into. You can also have the targets be the 2 Alligator Sword, just depending on the normal monster of choice you run in the deck, and what you open up in your hand might be the deciding factor for what you target with Rescue Rabbit also. With the last of the monsters that we run in the deck just being 3 King of the Swamp, once again, it can be the substitute for any of the fusion material, with this deck having a very specific point on the fact that you run monsters that need to be specifically summoned for your fusion monsters. So having King of the Swamp as a substitute for cards like Time Wizard or Baby Dragon, depending on what you have in your hand, or just a search for Polymerization, your main go-to fusion card in the deck also. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. You were speaking of the card just a bit ago, but our main go-to fusion spell is Polymerization. We run 3 of this card. It's searchable, it's recyclable with other cards we run in the deck. So running 3 of this just gives us that option for easy fusion play using hand consistency cards and not even having to take up a normal summon. And once again, Thousand Dragon will play into one of the key roles for one of our lockdowns in the deck. So having 3 of this card for that play, very, very good. For more special summon options, I also run the 3 Unexpected Die. This, if you control no monsters, just gives you a monster onto the field. If you have Rescue Rabbit, you can summon out the 1 monster of choice, and then Rescue Rabbit can summon out the vice versa for Alligator Sword and Baby Dragon. But getting out Baby Dragon, then let's say having the Time Wizard or the King of the Swamp in your hand can give you the cards needed to then summon out your Thousand Dragon using those cards you have available. Now, with also fusion plays, if we want to change up the monsters we have in the field for some other fusion variants, I also run 2 D-Fusion. Not only can this card give us multiple attacks during the battle phase, it gives us the special summon option for those cards, like I said, to then use for different fusion plays onto the field, and then when main phase 2 comes around after we attack with those monsters, going into that other monster. This allows for us to attack with cards like the Thousand Dragon, and then defuse, and then reuse some of those monsters to then summon out the Time Wizard of Tomorrow. For more special summoning, for the fact that we do run a good number of dragon monsters in the deck, I'm also running 2 World Legacy Guard Dragon for either the fact that you can add the card back to your hand. So not only that, it says a level 4 or lower dragon monster in the graveyard. So if we make use of 100 Dragon, we can add this card back to our hand or special summon it back onto the field. It doesn't have to be on the field for the normal summon or special summon for its play. And controlling another additional card like World Legacy Guard Dragon when we have 100 Dragon is just that additional card to raise its level and then also its attack. For the fact that we can also go through our monsters quite quickly in the deck for a lot of our plays, I run 2 Pot of Avarice for the recycle power. With this card giving you draw power and the potential to shuffle back some of our monsters and then use them for more and more fusion plays, and also putting back cards from our extra deck. Because like I said, with all the search power we have, you'll definitely go through a lot of your different extra deck monsters that much more quickly. For some of the lower numbers for these spells that I run 1 fusion recycling plant. If you wanted to increase the number of this card, you can always mix around numbers of Avarice or even Unexpected Die to add additional copies of this card in the deck. Just being able to recycle and search out Polymerization with this card is another added plus. Monster Reborn, more resources from the graveyard back onto the field to use. 1 Call by the Grave for stopping my opponent's graveyard plays. This can also be, since this is more of a fun deck, another card you can replace for Fusion Recycling Plant. And I also run the 1 Dragon's Mirror. This is another fun one that I'll go over with the extra deck, but with the setup with this and Dragon Shrine, we can just get more and more dragons in our graveyard to then use for any of the fusion summons we want for the dragon type fusion monster. And then that is it for the spells. Moving on now to the traps. I run 3 Fusion Reserve. You just reveal 1 fusion monster in your extra deck. Add 1 of the fusion materials listed on that card from your deck to your hand. Then you can add 1 Polymerization from your graveyard to your hand. So you can use Pot of Avarice to recycle the monsters, but you still need ways to recycle Polymerization from your graveyard, because once you use 3 fusions, you're pretty much done there. So rely on Fusion Reserve to add back that Polymerization from the graveyard, but also giving you that specific number of whatever monster you revealed in the extra deck onto the field for that search. The fact that you can search out Time Wizard with this card makes it all the better and an easier way to get it to your hand that much more quickly. And then for the last of the traps, I also run 3 Tyrant Throws. You activate by tributing 2 normal monsters, except tokens. Neither player can normal or special summon effect monsters, so it's very lucky that Thousand Dragon is not an effect monster. So when you summon out this card onto the field, you're basically going up against your opponent with 1 monster that is a Master of Time, and with the fact that you're locked down with cards like Tyrant's Throws for your opponent, they can't really do much else aside from set monsters on the field, since you used your other normal monsters on the field for the tribute. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, I run 3,000 Dragon. I have the different type of artwork as well. So comment down below which favorite of the 1,000 Dragon artwork you prefer, whether it be the original or the one we got from the Millennium Pack. But I run 3 of this card, so we have plenty of options for summoning out this card onto the field. I know we can use Defusion, so if you want to add more Link monster options or some of our other fusion monsters, you can always drop the number down to 2,000 Dragon, but with it being the main focus of the deck, we're sticking with 3. It's a non-effect fusion monster, so it works great with the Tyrant Throws play, and just needing the Time Wizard and Baby Dragon to summon it out onto the field. I also run the 2 Time Wizard of Tomorrow. Most of the time you'll use either King of the Swamp with Time Wizard or your 100 Dragon and Time Wizard, since 100 Dragon can give you the extra protection play. And this card just has immense burn power. I would say it's definitely an evolved form of Time Wizard, being able to hit for massive damage against your opponent, depending on how many monsters you destroy. I also run the 2 Alligator Sword Dragon, where you can use Alligator Sword Dragon and Baby Dragon. This card being able to attack directly if the only face-up monsters they control are Earth, Water, or Fire. So if they have that option, you can hit for some direct damage to your opponent for a pretty good chunk of 1,700 attack points. I also run the 1 First of the Dragons for the normal monsters we run as another added backup fusion play with this card. And also the 1 5-headed dragon for the Dragon's Mirror play. You can hit some pretty good numbers of dragon monsters in your graveyards. When you have those numbers and you activate Dragon's Mirror, being able to get this boss monster out can be a pretty big surprise against your opponent. For the Link monsters, I also run 1 Predaplant, Vert Anaconda for more of the fusion setup, just for the cost of life points, since we don't really use life points for much else in the deck. 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Underclock Taker. When we use our effect monsters, we can have our 1,000 Dragon be the target with the Link Arrow and then lower our opponent's attack. Also the 1 Win the Wind Charmer Verdant for the Baby Dragon Wind Link options. 1 Lena the Light Charmer. And lastly 1 Salamangreat Almirage. If we summon out the Time Wizard with this card and we don't really want to go for the option of the destruction play, instead play it safe with a Link play, we have the option with Almirage right then and there. And then as for some of the plays to go for in the deck, Rescue Rabbit being a big part of the summon, along with cards like Unexpected Die. If we're going for our Tyrant Throws lockdown, what you'll do is you'll set up the Tyrant Throws on the field. You'll then activate your Unexpected Die, giving you the 1 monster out on the field for the play to then go for. Then you'll activate your Rescue Rabbit for the additional banish, giving you your 2 other monsters on the field, whether it be the 2 additional Baby Dragon for that summon, or even just the setup play. You can even wait the additional turn, because you'll need to activate the Tyrant Throws for the tribute of your cards, and Rescue Rabbit will banish the normal monsters otherwise, or so unless you use them for the fusion play of your 1,000 Dragon onto the field, since this will also count for that normal monster. You can then activate your Tyrant Throws on the field, tributing those cards on the field for the lockdown of your opponent. Then when you activate cards like Dragon's Mirror, or even the additional fusion setup you can use with your monsters, you have the lockdown against your opponent, but also the setup of another monster on the field that's not limited to the special summon, since you can only summon out special summon effect monsters for those cards, but that is not what 1,000 Dragon is. It is a just fusion monster, non-effect fusion monster, summoned out by using an effect monster and a Baby Dragon. For some of the other plays, using your dragon setup as the game progresses and you build up more and more dragons in your graveyard for that setup, whether you use the 100 Dragon for the fusion play as well to go into cards like Time Wizard of Tomorrow. You have all these available options to you to then set up these dragons in the graveyard, going over the Rescue Rabbit and Unexpected Die play as well. Or depending on the fusion monster you make when you have these cards set up in the graveyard is when you'll rely on your Dragon's Mirror play to then use against your opponent, giving you the spell card to then fusion summon out by banishing the cards from your graveyard for the 5-headed dragon onto the field. But even if you don't have the 5-headed dragon, you can still use the Dragon's Mirror to properly summon out your 1,000 Dragon, which can be used if you use the Tyrant's Throw for the tribute, having those banishes to summon this card back into the field, since you'll have the normal summon resources in the graveyard after summoning out the first 1,000 Dragon that you used for the Tyrant's Throw's tribute cost. And that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, this is a really fun deck. I always love making the updates to the many different monsters that Joey uses. I definitely seem to be focusing more on Joey lately, aside from Yugi. So I might focus more on Yugi or maybe some other characters from the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. If you have any requests on decks you'd like to see from characters from the original series, definitely comment down below. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.